Welcome back, everyone, to The Deep Dive. This time we're taking a deep dive into the world of teaching children about Islam.
That's fascinating.
We've got some really interesting sources to dig into today. We've got excerpts from a speech on the topic
Okay.
and a set of golden rules for Islamic parenting.
I'm intrigued.
So whether you're a parent yourself,
Mm-hmm.
an educator,
Yeah.
or just someone who's, curious about this really vital part of faith,
Right.
get ready because I think we're going to uncover some really valuable insights today.
I'm excited. I think one of the things that really struck me going through the material
Yeah.
was how much emphasis the speech put on the whole idea of storytelling.
As a teaching tool.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's not just about, teaching kids the facts,
Right.
but like captivating them with these stories from the Quran and about the prophets.
Oh, interesting.
And even just moments from Islamic history in general.
I've heard that before about how powerful stories can be, but I've never really stopped to think about, why?
Oh, for sure.
Why are they so effective? Is it just that they're, more fun than straight facts?
I mean, I think there's definitely an element of entertainment there.
Yeah.
But I think it goes deeper than that.
Okay.
I think stories can connect with us on a much more emotional level, right? They provide that context.
Yeah.
And they make sometimes these kind of abstract concepts that make them feel more relatable. And they can really offer like a window into, different cultures,
Oh, interesting.
different historical periods.
That's true.
And I think, if you think about it, kids are just naturally drawn to stories.
Yeah.
It's how they learn to make sense of the world.
So we're kind of tapping into something they already love
Exactly.
to teach them something new.
Yeah.
But, are all stories created equal? How do you know which stories to tell?
That's a great question.
You wouldn't tell a 5-year-old.
Right.
The same story you would tell, a teenager?
No, absolutely not. You have to be so mindful of your audience, right? And the message you're trying to get across.
Yeah.
You're not going to jump into complex theological debates
Right.
with a little kid, are you?
No.
No, but you can focus on those really simple but powerful stories
Okay.
that highlight things like kindness,
Mm-hmm.
compassion,
Yeah.
honesty.
Okay, so things that resonate with them no matter what.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Values that are universal.
I like that, starting with the building blocks.
Mhm.
And then you can kind of layer in the complexity as they get older.
Precisely.
I like it. Now, I know the speech also mentioned making learning interactive
Oh, for sure.
and fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they even gave some specific examples like
Yeah.
Islamic-themed board games,
Yes.
online quizzes.
Love that.
What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, I think that's a fantastic approach. Like, who doesn't love games?
It's true.
Right. And they engage kids in so many different ways.
Yeah.
They get them thinking critically, solving problems.
Yeah.
They encourage them to interact with each other.
Yeah.
And, they're learning about their faith at the same time.
Right.
And plus, like you said, who doesn't love a good game night?
It's true.
It's a chance for families to just connect and have fun and learn together.
I love that idea of a family game night centered around, learning about Islam.
Yeah.
It's so much more engaging
Right.
than just, reading a textbook.
Absolutely.
But I'm wondering, what about those kids who maybe aren't into board games?
Yeah.
Quizzes. Are there other ways to kind of make learning interactive and hands-on?
Absolutely. Like, what about arts and crafts?
Oh.
Imagine kids creating their own Ramadan lanterns.
Oh.
Or designing their own prayer mats.
That's cool.
Or even just making Eid cards.
Yeah.
It allows them to be creative, right?
Yeah,
They
yeah.
develop those fine motor skills.
Yep.
And they get to kind of internalize those Islamic teachings
Yeah.
in this really tangible way.
It's like that old saying, right?
Oh, tell me about it.
Tell me and I forget. Teach me and I may remember. Involve me and I learn.
Exactly. And that kind of leads into another point this speech makes
Okay.
about going beyond just memorizing rituals.
Right.
It's about understanding what they actually mean.
Okay, so it's not enough to just teach them how to pray, for example.
Right. Exactly.
You need to help them understand why we pray
Yeah.
and what it means.
And what's the significance of it?
Okay. But how do you even approach that?
Well, think about prayer, right?
Okay.
Instead of just focusing on the physical movements,
Yeah.
what if you explain the idea of connecting with God,
Mm-hmm.
of seeking guidance,
Right.
expressing gratitude?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or, when you're teaching about fasting during Ramadan,
Mm-hmm.
talk about empathy, self-discipline, and being thankful for what we have.
It's like you're connecting those practices to values that are relevant to their lives.
Exactly.
Even outside of a religious context,
Yeah.
like empathy,
Yeah.
self-discipline, gratitude. Those are important life skills no matter what your background is.
Absolutely. And that's where the speech also, it highlights the power of visual aids.
Oh.
Things like illustrated books, videos, even cartoons.
Okay.
These can really make those Islamic teachings come to life in a way that words sometimes can't.
Right.
You know?
Because, like you said earlier, kids are drawn to stories.
Totally.
And I feel like visual aids just enhance that storytelling experience even more.
100%. And don't underestimate the power of just showing them.
Oh, okay.
Like, actually demonstrating.
Live demonstrations.
Yes, like showing a child how to do wudu.
Right.
The washing before prayer, or how to properly give charity. Those real-life experiences can have a much stronger impact
Than just, explaining it.
Exactly.
So we've got storytelling, interactive learning, visual aids, hands-on experience.
Yeah.
It's like this multifaceted approach.
Right.
Engaging kids on all these different levels.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's got to be more to it than just the techniques themselves. Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're absolutely right. The speech also goes into the role of parents and educators as role models.
That makes sense.
Right. And that's where those golden rules for Islamic parenting come in.
Because kids are like sponges.
Oh, they are.
They're constantly watching,
they see everything.
observing, absorbing the behavior of the adults around them.
And they pick up on it.
So actions really do speak louder than words.
100%. If we want our kids to embrace Islamic values, we have to live those values ourselves.
Right.
They need to see us practicing what we preach.
Consistency is key.
It really is.
It's about walking the walk.
Not just talking the talk.
Absolutely.
Leading by example. And I think that's the first of those golden rules, right?
It is.
Parents and educators as role models.
It's the foundation for everything else.
Like, that's what everything else is built on.
Exactly. Because children learn best by watching and imitating. So if they see their parents praying regularly, treating others with kindness, engaging in acts of charity, those actions are going to be much more powerful
than any lecture or lesson.
For sure.
So it's not just about, carving out specific time for like Islamic lessons.
Right.
It's about like weaving those values into their everyday life.
Exactly. Make it a natural part of who you are and how you live.
Okay. But are there specific things that parents can do?
Oh, yeah.
To create that kind of environment?
Tons. I mean, beyond just being good role models.
Well, that's where the other golden rules come in. One that I think is particularly powerful
is the emphasis on making learning a family affair.
Oh, okay.
So it's about praying together as a family, attending Islamic events together.
Okay.
And even just, having those dinner table conversations about Islamic teaching.
Creating those shared experiences.
Exactly.
Making faith a natural part of family life.
Yeah.
Not just something you do on Fridays or during Ramadan.
Right.
But like woven into the everyday.
It's part of the fabric of your life.
But that brings up an interesting question.
Oh.
What about families where there might be differences in belief or practice?
That's a great question.
Like, how do you navigate that?
Yeah.
While still, fostering that sense of belonging for your kids?
That's a really important and sensitive topic, and I think it's something we should definitely dive into.
Yeah.
I think it comes down to open communication, respect for individual choices, and creating a space where kids feel safe asking questions and expressing their own views. That space for dialogue seems so important.
It really is.
And actually, that kind of leads into another one of those golden rules.
Which is?
The importance of open and loving communication with your children.
Oh, absolutely.
What are some of the key takeaways from that one?
It's about fostering that relationship.
Okay.
Where kids feel like they can come to you with anything.
Right.
Questions, doubts, struggles.
Yeah.
Anything. And it's about listening. Really listening with empathy.
Yeah.
And guiding them with love and understanding, not judgment.
So you're creating that safe space for them to kind of explore their faith.
Yes.
Ask those tough questions and figure out where they fit in.
Exactly. It's a journey, not a destination.
That's a great way to put it.
Isn't it?
And that's what makes this whole topic so fascinating.
It really is.
It's not about, imposing a rigid set of beliefs.
Right.
But about nurturing this lifelong love of learning and helping them build a personal connection to their faith.
Absolutely. It really is a journey, isn't it? And, it's crucial to remember that each child's path is unique.
Oh,
We
absolutely.
touched on this a little bit when we were talking about storytelling,
Mm-hmm.
but this idea of really tailoring your approach to each individual child is essential.
Makes sense. Yeah, just like with, well, anything really.
Right.
There's no one-size-fits-all when it comes to teaching.
Exactly. What works for one child might totally not work for another.
Totally.
Some kids, they're visual learners, right? They're drawn to pictures, videos.
Yeah.
Others learn best by doing things, hands-on activities.
Mm-hmm.
And some, they really thrive on just listening,
Okay.
to lectures, discussions.
So it's like you're almost like a detective.
Kind of.
You had to figure out what their learning style is.
Exactly.
And then adapt your approach.
It's an ongoing process. You got to observe, adjust.
Always adapting. And I think that ties in really well with another point that both the speech and the golden rules brought up.
Oh, which one?
The importance of creating a safe and supportive learning environment.
Oh, absolutely. Especially when you're talking about something as complex as faith.
Right. Yeah.
Kids need to feel like they can ask questions.
Yeah.
Even if those questions are, challenging or maybe a little unconventional.
I can see why that's so important because I think sometimes when it comes to faith,
Yeah.
there's this fear of asking the wrong question
Oh, totally.
or expressing doubts.
For sure.
But it seems like fostering that open dialogue, that curiosity without judgment,
Mm-hmm.
it's just so crucial for genuine understanding.
It really is. You're encouraging them to think critically,
Yeah.
not just blindly accept everything. It's about giving them the space to explore and question and feel supported in that.
And that's where this idea of fitra comes in, right?
Exactly. You familiar with that term?
I've heard it, but I don't really know what it means.
So fitra, it's this Islamic concept that refers to like our natural disposition to believe in God.
Okay.
Like this inclination towards faith that's believed to be present in every human being.
The birth.
Yeah, from the very beginning.
So it's like tapping into that sense of wonder that kids naturally have.
Exactly.
About the world, their place in, the big questions.
Yeah, it's all connected.
That's fascinating.
And when you can create that safe and supportive environment, you're allowing that fitra to just flourish.
You're giving them permission to explore their faith authentically.
Yeah, without fear.
I like that.
And, this exploration, this faith journey, it's ongoing.
Right. It's not about reaching some specific endpoint.
Exactly.
But how do you keep that love of learning alive as they grow older?
That's a great question. And I think that's where the idea of making learning engaging comes in.
Okay.
Both the speech and the golden rules touched on this.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about forcing information on them,
Yeah.
but about sparking that inner fire.
That desire to learn. So finding those points of connection, like making ancient wisdom relevant to their lives today.
Yes. And remember how we were talking about storytelling earlier?
Yeah.
What if you encouraged kids to create their own stories
Oh, interesting.
about Islamic values, historical figures, through their own lens?
I love that. Taking something passive and making it active and creative.
Right. Imagine them writing their own interpretations of stories from the Quran,
Wow.
creating plays about the Prophet's lives,
Yeah.
even writing songs about Islamic teachings.
It's like you're taking those lessons and making them come alive for them.
Exactly. Making it personal.
It's like we're planting seeds
We are.
and nurturing them to grow into something beautiful and unique.
I love that analogy.
But growth isn't always linear.
It's not, no.
There will be challenges, doubts, times when that spark might fade a little.
For sure. And that's why it's so important to celebrate even the smallest wins.
Oh, okay.
Acknowledge their effort, praise their curiosity.
Yeah.
Recognize those moments when things click for them.
Create that positive learning environment.
Yeah, foster a love of learning for the joy of it.
Not just for the sake of knowing things.
Exactly.
Celebrate the journey, not just the destination.
Absolutely.
And I think that also means creating a space where mistakes are seen as opportunities to learn,
Oh, for sure.
not something to be ashamed of.
Yeah.
And I think that brings us back to that idea of building a strong family bond.
Yes. Which is another big focus in the golden rules.
Right, because faith is often passed down through generations.
It is.
It's about sharing traditions, celebrating holidays together, creating those lasting memories that connect us to our heritage,
Weaving faith into the fabric of family life.
and creating that sense of belonging and identity,
It can be such a source of strength.
especially during tough times.
It really can.
And, that sense of belonging can be especially important for kids growing up in a world where they might feel different.
Oh, absolutely.
because of their faith.
You've hit on such a crucial point. We can't ignore the realities of the world we live in. There might be times when kids face prejudice or discrimination.
Because of their beliefs.
Yeah, and it's our job to prepare them for that.
So it's not just about teaching them about Islam, but also about fostering tolerance and respect for others.
Exactly, regardless of their background or beliefs.
It's about raising kids who are confident in their own identity,
Yeah.
but also open-minded and compassionate.
Yes. It's about teaching them to engage in respectful dialogue, to challenge stereotypes.
To stand up for what's right, even when it's hard.
And that's where I think having those positive role models is so crucial.
Oh, for sure.
Both within the community and from Islamic history.
The speech talked about that too.
It did. It's about showing kids that faith is a living, breathing thing embodied by real people.
Right.
You know, we have all these incredible figures from history.
Like the Prophet Muhammad, scholars, activists.
All dedicated to serving others and fighting for justice.
And it's not just about those big names from history.
No, not at all.
It's about highlighting those everyday heroes.
In our communities.
Yeah, people who are living examples of compassion.
Generosity, service.
People who embody those Islamic values.
In their everyday actions.
Exactly. Showing kids that faith isn't just something you read about in a book.
Right.
It's something you live and breathe.
It's about connecting those teachings to real life.
So it's not just the what, but the how.
The how is crucial.
How you live your life, how you treat others, how you make a difference.
It's all part of teaching children about Islam.
Nurturing their hearts and their minds.
Beautifully said.
And, you know, I think that leads us to a point that often gets overlooked.
What's that?
The need for balance.
Balance, yeah. Tell me more.
Well, I'm thinking about how teaching kids about Islam encompasses both the spiritual and the practical. It's teaching them to pray,
Yes.
but also to engage with the world around them.
To be compassionate and critical thinkers.
To embrace their faith and respect other people's beliefs.
It's about raising well-rounded individuals who are grounded in their faith.
But also ready to face a diverse and constantly changing world.
Yes. Individuals who can think for themselves.
Contribute to society.
Make a positive impact.
And doing that takes intentionality.
It does.
We need to be mindful of the messages we're sending.
Yeah.
The examples we set. The environments we create.
It's an ongoing process.
Of learning, adapting, growing.
Always evolving.
It's like a dance between tradition and progress.
I like that.
Finding that sweet spot where we honor our heritage.
Yeah.
But also prepare our kids for the future.
And speaking of the future.
Yeah.
We can't ignore the role technology plays in all this.
Right. The speech talked about all the resources online.
Oh, it's incredible.
Educational apps, websites, games.
We have access to things that previous generations could only dream of.
Like interactive Quran apps.
Yeah.
Virtual tours of historical sites.
The possibilities are endless.
But it's all about finding that balance.
It is.
Using technology as a tool to enhance learning.
Not to replace those human connections.
We don't want to raise a generation that's glued to their screens.
Right. Missing out on real-life experiences.
It's about finding that sweet spot between the virtual and the real.
Yeah.
Between tradition and innovation.
Individual growth and communal belonging.
You know, it's really striking me as we go through all this.
What is?
There's no single right way to teach kids about Islam.
There really isn't.
It's this deeply personal journey.
Yeah.
Shaped by our own experiences. Beliefs.
And each child's unique needs.
That's what makes it so beautiful.
It is beautiful.
Like a dynamic process, like weaving a tapestry.
With all these different threads.
Storytelling, family traditions, open communication.
Critical thinking, engagement with the world.
And that deep love of learning.
It's all intertwined.
So it's about finding what works best for our families and communities.
Yes.
While staying true to those core values.
Of our faith.
But how do you handle those challenges? You know, the outside pressures.
Yeah.
The negative influences that kids might face.
Yeah.
In a world that's not always accepting.
That's such an important question.
Yeah.
And one that we need to address.
Yeah. It's a conversation we need to have, for sure. We've talked about, you know, creating that safe space for kids. Letting them explore their faith, fostering that love of learning.
Right.
But what happens when they go out into the world?
Yeah.
And they encounter negativity?
It's tough.
Prejudice because of their beliefs.
Yeah, it's a harsh reality.
It is.
But it's one we need to prepare them for.
We can't exactly shield them from everything.
No, we can't keep them in a bubble forever.
Right. But we can give them the tools to deal with those situations.
Absolutely.
What kind of tools? Like, what can we do?
I think one of the most important things is to foster that open and honest communication.
Okay.
Make sure they feel comfortable coming to you,
Yeah.
sharing their experiences, even the bad ones.
So they know they're not alone.
Exactly. Let them know their feelings are valid
Yeah.
and that you're there for them no matter what.
So you're like that safe harbor,
I like that.
that steady presence in the storm.
Exactly.
But it's not just about listening, is it?
No, you have to address the challenges too.
How do you do that?
Well, part of it is helping them understand that the world is a complex place.
Okay.
We live in a diverse society
Right.
with lots of different perspectives,
Yeah.
and not everyone is going to understand or agree with their beliefs.
That's true.
And that's okay.
It's about respecting those differences
Yeah.
and engaging in constructive dialogue, standing up for what you believe in.
But in a respectful way.
It's a tough balance.
It is. It takes practice.
And that's where critical thinking comes in.
Yes. Equipping them with the ability to question things,
To analyze information.
form their own opinions,
That's crucial, especially in this day and age.
but with all the misinformation out there.
Right, and all those biased perspectives.
We were talking earlier about being careful about the sources we expose them to. But how do we teach them to be critical of those sources themselves?
Yeah. How do you tell the difference between real information
Right.
and propaganda?
Well, you teach them to look for evidence, to consider different viewpoints, and to be wary of anything that feels one-sided or emotionally charged.
So you're teaching them to be skeptical.
But not cynical.
Right, there's a difference.
A big difference.
It's about developing that critical eye.
Exactly.
Especially online.
Oh, absolutely. And that's where media literacy comes in.
What's that?
Teaching them how media works,
Oh, okay.
how to spot bias,
Yeah.
how to be responsible consumers of information.
That's so important these days.
It really is.
And we've talked about storytelling,
Mm-hmm.
but there's a flip side to that too.
There is.
There are stories out there that can be harmful,
Oh, yeah.
that can reinforce stereotypes and prejudice.
Right. And that's why we need to counter those narratives with our own stories
Okay.
by highlighting positive representations of Muslims
Okay.
in the media, in literature, in pop culture.
Showcasing the diversity within the Muslim community.
Yeah, and celebrating the contributions that Muslims have made throughout history.
It's about reclaiming that narrative,
Exact.
challenging those stereotypes.
And presenting a more accurate and nuanced picture.
And I think community plays a big role in that too.
It does, surrounding kids with positive influences.
With mentors, role models,
People who embody Islamic values.
and who can offer support and guidance.
It all makes a difference.
Creating that sense of belonging,
Yeah.
that network of support.
It's crucial.
And don't forget about interfaith dialogue.
Oh, that's so important.
Encourage kids to connect with people of different faiths.
To learn about their belief.
That can really foster understanding, empathy.
And respect.
It breaks down those barriers.
It helps us see our shared humanity.
Talking about these challenges, it really hits home that teaching kids about Islam today,
Yeah.
it's not just about giving them information.
It's not.
It's about giving them a whole set of skills.
That's right.
Critical thinking, media literacy.
Empathy, resilience.
It's about preparing them to be active, engaged citizens.
In a world that can be pretty complex.
You said it.
It's about empowering them to navigate that complexity,
Yeah.
to stand up for their beliefs,
And to make a positive difference in the world.
to embody those core values
Of compassion, justice, peace.
that are at the heart of Islam.
I think that's a beautiful way to put it.
Thank you.
We've covered a lot today.
We have.
From storytelling to critical thinking.
From creating safe spaces to facing a diverse world.
It's clear that this is an ongoing journey.
A lifelong journey.
Any final thoughts for our listeners as they embark on this path?
Just remember, you're not alone.
Yeah.
There's so much support out there.
Communities, resources, traditions.
Trust your instincts. Embrace the journey.
And remember,
Even small steps can make a big difference.
beautifully said. I love that. And for all of you listening, remember, the most powerful tool you have is your love and dedication. So embrace the challenges, celebrate the victories, and never stop learning and growing alongside those amazing kids in your life. Thanks for joining us on the deep dive. Until next time, keep seeking, keep learning, keep growing.